Thanks for tuning in to your favorite content creator, UTV. To find out more, follow us on our social media platforms: YouTube UTV124, Facebook UTV124, Instagram UTV124, Twitch UTV124, TikTok UTV_124, and Flow TV channel 124. Remember, UTV TV for you.
I can't stay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. It is August 13th. It is Friday, the year 2021. I am Tresha Lionel, and I welcome all of you to the show. For those of you listening to us on our radio station partner, radio station partners, Hits FM 92.1 and 91.1. Good morning to all of you listening. I don't know whether you're driving or whether you're home, wherever you could be. We appreciate it all the time when you are here with us. Also, if you are watching on our different social media platforms where we stream every day from 11. Thank you very much for tuning in and for joining us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and Twitch, and everything else. We appreciate it every single day. That is what I feel, actually. So finally, those of you watching us on television on channel 124 on Flow, good morning to you. We are getting information that, it's not going to be pretty, it's not going to be good for us with COVID. We are now hearing that there are 3 Delta variant cases confirmed in country, all U.S. nationals. Only 1 was fully vaccinated. That is what I'm hearing so far. So we're seeing what we have feared the most, and what I think people expected with what we're seeing around the world outside of us in the region and elsewhere, that this would be coming here. And now that we know this, we have to go back then to vaccination, and not just where we are with it, the numbers that we're seeing, trying to get more maybe PSAs, more educational material to go out there and help people, in a way, disseminate information so people would feel more comfortable in getting the vaccine. That continues to be an issue. But there's also the issue of, like I said, the issue of trust, but in a different way, with what we're seeing here with the Delta variant and all of the others that are forming, and how it's going to be even more difficult to get over, that it can spread even faster. It takes more out of you. It's way, way more dangerous in that scenario there. Not only is it a question of, whether you want to have people obligated to have vaccines, there's that sort of discussion of what would be the right thing, how do you get people to be vaccinated, but about the procurement of vaccines itself. That continues to be an issue, because we have paid money for vaccines that we get yet. When I say we, I mean us, I mean you, the taxpayers. It's public funds. We have something outstanding that we need to look into. But before we do, let us look into the issue from the very early days of February, when we heard the former Prime Minister speak on getting the vaccines here.
In terms of the vaccine, I have some good news to report. The government was proactive in seeking vaccine options and became a member of COVAX. We've received official confirmation from the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, of the allocation of 74,000 doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine ahead of schedule. The estimated time of arrival is mid to late February 2021. The Ministry of Health has prepared the plan for dissemination in a 3-phased approach, commencing the first week of March 2021. The vaccine will be free of charge and on a voluntary basis. Officials of the Ministry of Health shall be providing further updates and guidance to the public as we prepare for the introduction of the COVID-19 vaccine. I understand the concerns of some citizens may have about the vaccine. However, we ensure that everyone has adequate and accessible information in order to make the best decision for yourself.
Now, we have to understand that even when decisions are being made, and it was made a couple of months ago, maybe however long ago, it has repercussions. We have to deal with the results of the decisions being made there. So the former Prime Minister speaks of how important it is. This is about our health. This is about, our health systems and everything else, our lives, like he said, and livelihoods. So, vaccines. We are going to, again, remind ourselves of the vaccines that were supposed to be coming in. So let's take a look at the next image, where we see there what was meant to happen, what was supposed to happen. If we can get it a bit closer, it says, from the Director of Finance, the Permanent Secretary, Department of Health and Wellness, approval for direct purchase for AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines for Radical Investment Limited. It says, please be advised that as per letter dated April 20th, 2021, from the Minister of Finance, approval has been granted for procurement via direct purchase to Radical Investments Limited in the amount of Eastern Caribbean $7,335,630 to facilitate the procurement of AstraZeneca vaccines. Kindly ensure that the Director of Finance, Accountant General, and Director of Audit are furnished with copies of the relevant contract documents in a complete and timely manner. Failure to comply with the above instructions will render your ministry in breach of Section 17(2) and 3 of the Procurement and Stores Regulation. And that was just this year, a couple of months ago in April, when people were being told, and the public sector was being told to hurry up and pay the people, that you need to give $7 million to some company that we haven't heard of ever, to help us get vaccines. Now, the way that it works with COVAX and what we've already seen, that's the CARICOM effort in trying to get us vaccines in the region. We already see with the first shipment we had from Mia Motley and Dominica giving us some, and then the second shipment was from India. And most of it, when we looked at what was going on, we asked the question too, why aren't we trying to secure vaccines for ourselves? We saw different countries trying to do that. Yes, some people will wait for the donations and COVAX and everything else, but while that's going on, try to get for yourself. We didn't get anything like that except right before elections, and in the middle of all that we heard then of Radical Investments. But people, and it's interesting too, because it is a leaked document, and when things like that happen, it's because public servants, civil servants, they're suspicious of that. They're suspicious of certain things and the way that it happens, and they put it out there for us to see. And thank you very much, because it's our money and we did not know that that was being done. So the response then to that being done, back then, Nicole had to do the mopping up and everything else. So they tried to dial it back and try to make it seem like there's nothing wrong with it. So let's take a look at what was being said there in the press releases and trying to do the damage control with this AstraZeneca procurement. It says here, the Office of the Prime Minister, St. Lucia's efforts to secure high-demand COVID-19 vaccines. The Office of the Prime Minister is aware. Let's go to the next one. The Office of the Prime Minister is aware of a document in circulation accompanied by a WhatsApp message with false allegations regarding St. Lucia's procurement of COVID-19 vaccines. I don't know what happened there. The Office of the Prime Minister states categorically that the government of St. Lucia's purchase of vaccines was done in accordance with the Procurement and Stores Regulation in response to the global threat of COVID-19. Prime Minister Honorable Alan Shastney has been actively leading the government's effort to secure much-needed vaccines for our citizens. This effort was replicated by let's go to the next one. by other citizens. Although St. Lucia received donations of 25,000 doses from India and 50,000 through COVAX, this was not sufficient to ensure that at least 60% of our population was vaccinated to allow us to return to some level of normalcy. In April 2021, the governments of St. Lucia, the Bahamas, and Barbados initiated a bulk purchase of AstraZeneca vaccines as the minimum purchase from authorized suppliers. It says St. Lucia's contribution towards this arrangement was $7 million to secure 100,000 vials. 100,000 vials of the vaccine. The government of St. Lucia, through the Ministry of Health and Wellness, approved this purchase through Radical Investments Limited following verifications by the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Health and Wellness to secure the capacity of the supplier. At the time of the transaction, there was much uncertainty with regard to the supply of COVID-19 vaccines around the world, and the government was actively seeking reliable source for the vaccine. The partnership with 2 of the CARICOM countries provided the best avenue to do so. The government continues to explore all methods to control the spread of COVID-19, which remains our greatest existential threat. The government will continue with its vaccination efforts as we seek to protect the health and well-being of the nation. It is regrettable and unfortunate that persons are using misinformation to undermine the efforts at preserving the social and economic future of St. Lucia. The government of St. Lucia continues to call on all St. Lucians to vaccinate for you, for yours, for us. Now, yeah, it was a bit long, but this is where we are with everything. And, you know, when these press releases were done, it almost tried to insult people, shame people that ask questions. Like, it is unfortunate that you guys coming there and just trying to make things difficult for the government. You're always the naysayers and that sort of thing. I think it will always be necessary to ask questions for things that, you know, just don't look right. And this one more than just doesn't look right. There is, you know, the preferential treatment being given when we have to look at who is Radical Investments. And up to now, we have not secured those vaccines that the Prime Minister spoke about. And in what is being said here, the suspicion on everything that's being done, the people in health and wellness, and all the sacrifices that people have been called on to do, from, you know, the essential workers and everything else, the civil servants having to make sacrifices. We are seeing $7 million of our own money being given away for something that we have not gotten yet. Let's take a look.
This company, which is not even registered in St. Lucia, was contracted to supply vaccines at more than 5 times, what we pay for it with COVAX. Now, Office of the Prime Minister, I saw your release, and I'll come to it because you all are categorical liars. Yes, you all are liars. And the total contract is not 7.3, it's about $32 million, paying $27 a dose, which means it's almost 1 million doses. We don't need 1 million doses in this country. But I will not tell people. I will show St. Lucians how you all are trying to fool them in defense of yourselves. First of all, folks, let me show you the letter which was written to that company for the 7.3, no, to the Director of Finance or to whoever it was, authorizing the payment of $7.3 million to that company. Could you put up that letter for me, please? Yes. And so, folks, good. From the Director of Finance to the Permanent Secretary, Department of Health and Wellness, CC Director of Audit. And it reads, it's April 20th, 2021. Approval of direct purchase for AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines. Radical Investments Limited. Radical Investments Limited. It says, please be advised, as per letter dated April 20th, 2021, from the Minister of Finance, yes, the Prime Minister, approval has been granted for procurement via direct purchase to Radical Investments, heard this well, in the amount of Eastern Caribbean $7.335 million to facilitate the procurement of the vaccines. I didn't say it, it's on the letter. Now folks, leave that up a bit for me. Leave it up for me a bit. The Prime Minister's office issued a release saying that it was a joint effort, and that amount represents St. Lucia's contribution. Mr. Prime Minister, this is a blatant lie. This is an untruth, and I will not only tell St. Lucians, I will show them why it is an untruth. Now folks, what is instructive is the last sentence of that letter. It is a very instructive. Failure to comply with the above instructions will render your ministry in breach of section 17(2) and 3 of the Procurement and Stores Regulations. You know why they are doing that, folks? The government does what they want, and when they want payments to be effected extremely quickly, they almost threaten civil servants, because this is incorporated there as a threat. This is incorporated there as a threat. Failure to comply. You know, why are you telling civil servants? Why are you telling civil servants that if they fail to comply, they will be in breach of the law? Why? Why? In other words, they are saying to you civil servants, hurry up, pay the people. Folks, this is scary. And I'll tell you why it is scary. The handling of pharmaceuticals, the procurement of pharmaceuticals, the storage of pharmaceuticals, especially this particular vaccine, must be done by a company with the experience and expertise to handle the storage of those vaccines. But Radical Investments Inc. or Limited, as you saw, is not a St. Lucian company. It was not formed in St. Lucia. It does not have, well, it says it has a lawyer's address as its registered address. It does not have a registered address otherwise. It appears that this is an IBC formed in England. Passet lisio. Saso company l'Angleterre. Ek naimuto ki dat effet. Ek naimuto sa company café. So le premier ministre la kay fait un release. Ka di ko sa that se island ki mette ensemble pour compagnie ça la sos bagay banou, ça c'est gomme chose. That is a categorical lie. Could you show Radical Investments Incorporation on the screen for me, please? Good. Folks, Radical Investments, company number 09845366. Radical Investments Limited. Registered office address. Registered office address. 3rd floor, Sterling House, Longston Road, Luton, Essex, United Kingdom. You all see where it come from? You all see where this company is registered? Now, look to the right of your screen. Incorporated on 28th October 2015. Incorporated on 28th October 2015. Shasta, don't come with your mushers about Kobe Islands. Incorporated 20th October 2015. Nature of business. Scroll down for me, Mr. Technician. Show the St. Lucians what that company is involved in. Could you scroll down for me, please? Nature of business. Nature of business. That's sick, you see them in quoted. Financial intermediation not elsewhere classified. Nature of business. Financial intermediation. How on earth Shasta can tell this country that a company that is not registered in this country, a company that was recently registered, whose main business is being a financial intermediary, is sourcing vaccines that require special storage and handling, is sourcing vaccines for this country. Where y'all think y'all going with that? Who y'all could fool with that? Who y'all think y'all could fool with that? Y'all cannot fool us with that. Can you believe this, folks? Company recently formed. Company involved in financing. That's all the company has availed in financing. Company not registered in St. Lucia. Registered address is the UK. Shasta will tell us that this company is, folks, you know, a company dealing in finance has a contract to supply us with vaccines that need special storage, special handling, and special everything. Well, they are financial intermediaries, but it's for whom?
Now, when you see what we're hearing there, what we know that we've paid for, and I get nothing yet for it, I think it's even more disrespectful when we have now a real crisis. We have the new variants that we're seeing, and we're expecting to get some more, and that's just what we know, because you could say that right now we have 3 cases of the Delta variant, again notably all US nationals coming in and having that. But that's just when you send a sample to CARFA. You're just sending a sample and then they come back to you with what you got. So it doesn't even truly represent how many we may have right now in country. So we have a situation here. We need vaccines. We've paid for vaccines. We don't know who we've really given this money to, because they've had no history in health services or anything of the sort. There's no mailing address in St. Lucia that people come from the UK. That's where they're from. We have no real idea. And then the director there is a Maloney that's also in charge of Rock Hard, oh God, I hate saying that, Rock Hard Cement, that we know has been part of all of Guy Joseph's, you know, ventures, if we're supposed to call it that, the forestry housing development and everything else. Rock Hard Cement is part of that. Maloney is there with that. Then you get Maloney being part of Radical Investments, also in part with, in collaboration. I try to find ways to say it, because I've been told maybe I'm too rough, maybe too raw. But we have to say it how it is. We have a situation we're dealing with here, and I know that the experts are talking. I understand that the CMO is speaking about the different variants. We need to get more people vaccinated, but we also must not forget that there are other issues here, that when people say they don't trust what has happened in this country, they have good reason when it comes to this. When it comes to millions of dollars being spent on things to people that have no history of health services, that when you look at the background checks on them, you know, it doesn't make sense that people are being forced to pay and civil servants are being told to pay them quickly so that things can happen. And even with the payment itself, the reason why so many of the public servants were also suspicious is because the different accounts that was being given to in mere minutes, you know, that touched so many different accounts already, you know, and that did not seem right. So when people see things like that, you know the real way things are supposed to happen, and it didn't happen. They were right to come out to say it. But just so we understand how important this is, and I do not want us to forget this. There are things, and this is only one of them, that we have to get to the bottom of. But even as we discuss this, just to put it in a perspective, forgive me for that, by the way. The next clip is something that, well, we recorded it, but it's going on live, so this is what we could get. But it's important, I think, when you have the CMO explaining to us that this is really a matter of life and death. The whole world is still trying to understand what this is, to deal with it in a proper way. And in all of this time, we're getting, I think, a callous government still that did not see the need to explain anything to us. And again, I realize that for some people, you know, they already get the change. They find it difficult to hear Prime Minister explain actions and try to account to you, because really they haven't figured out that you are the boss of the Prime Minister, that they are working for you. They just, you know, higher up there than the public servants, different public servants, but they are there to account to us. So with all of that being said, we need to take a look at what our situation is with COVID and how we desperately need the value for our money, our worth, but also to know that you cannot go wrong with having more vaccines, especially when we have these new variants.
Of all of the 6 WHO regions, and in 45 in the Americas, 29 in the Caribbean. Earlier in the year, they thought that it would have become the dominant strain by the middle of 2021. It's estimated to be between 24 to 70% more transmissible than the original strain, with a higher viral load. Now, this was the strain which was circulating with the wave that we managed in January, February. If you note, our tallest wave to date has been January, February, when we did have the introduction of this alpha variant in country. And we saw the increased transmission over time. We saw the effect of the alpha variant, where we got a lot more cases compared to the 2 other waves that we managed previously. The alpha variant, which we had been managing, the vaccines are seen to be effective against it. After the second dose, the Pfizer 93% and the AstraZeneca 66% effective. I will go on to the Delta variant, which is the second variant which we have now diagnosed today in country. It was first diagnosed in 2020 in India, October of 2020 in India, and as of August 3rd, it is in at least 132 of all 6 of the WHO regions, and in at least 11 of the Caribbean islands. Yesterday, CARPHA informed us that 3 other Caribbean islands have been diagnosed with the Delta variant. So I guess St. Lucia was one of them until we received those results. It forms more than 90% of the new cases that are seen in the UK, and over 80% of the cases that are seen in the US and France. And it has become the dominant strain in at least 13 countries. So initially it was thought that the alpha variant or the British variant would have been the more dominant strain. The Delta variant, because of the level of transmissibility, has become the more dominant strain. And this, what is known about it of us, the increased transmissibility, so it's 97% compared to the other strain of virus. So imagine we were managing a 24 to 70% more transmissible. Now we have a 97% more transmissible with the Delta variant that we are managing now. It is known to cause more severe disease, hospitalization, as well as increased ICU admission and deaths. They note that the preliminary evidence suggests that the hospitalization rate for unvaccinated persons is a lot higher, and the Delta variant is known to have an estimated over 100 times the viral load of the regular strain of the SARS-CoV.
So clearly they're a very serious situation that we're facing, and for me, like I said, this should put even more of a pressure, well, on the current administration to figure out some of the things that has happened in the past 5 years with regards to the vaccine. And we also need to look at where we're going to with the new administration. I think it was announced earlier this week what's going to happen with procurement and what's going to happen with the vaccines that we're supposed to be getting next week.
On Tuesday, August 17, we received the first tranche of vaccines, 52,650 dozens of Pfizer vaccines from CAFA. We thank the government of the United States and President Joe Biden for their generosity.
So this is where we're at. People are still donating. Some people are still giving to the different islands and to us. But I wonder what people are going to think when India was going through whatever they were going through, and they also felt the need to donate. Mia and everybody else donated. How would you feel, you know, looking at something where so many other people will, so many other people will try to give and donate, but you have money being just giving away and we ain't get it yet. So we're going to continue to take a look at the Radical Investments and their debts. Let's take a look at that. I think that too is interesting because it'll just show that we are not prioritizing. There seems to be a fiscal mismanagement of even that and even the vaccines. Let's take a look at the first image. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next image where it says certificate of incorporation of a private limited company. It's saying there that it was in October 2015 in England and Wales. Let's go to the next. And the other. Right, I think that is important here. It says the statement of comprehensive income, and I think when you look at the losses, that's what's very interesting to me. It says you have losses of $9 million, and it's saying there that even the administrative expenses, that's about the second figure, with $9,456,000. And you know, you're saying, okay, so you're working, just doing your normal day-to-day work. That's putting you in so much debt with $9 million. And that's 9 million pounds. So that's about 37 million EC dollars that Radical Investment, this company, that's their financial, it's not financially healthy. So we have decided, this is where we are, St. Lucia, and you can take that down. We have seen a company being headed by a person, Maloney, who also is directing Rock Hard Cement, that has been part of, you know, the Guy Joseph projects and is together with Skelly and Fresh Start and everything else that we've seen in the past 5 years there. Now, this same person is getting $7 million for vaccines. So the questions are, and that's what I want. I just want some questions answered. What is Radical Investments? You know, what is the record that satisfied? How did it satisfy the Ministry of Health when you looked into this business and saw that they have a loss, that they in debt of $9 million? What would make us think that this is what we needed? What has been their history of procurement and being in health services? I don't see they have any, but it's there. Why did we decide to do that? Where are the vaccines that we paid $7 million for to a company? Where is it? Why did we need so much? 100,000 vials, so that's there like 800,000 doses when we are people of 170,000 people. This country has 170,000 people. Why are we doing that? And if we don't get these vaccines, what happens then? When we're seeing different variants in the country and all of what is being said, people bursting Prime Minister head in St. Vincent, different things happening in Dominica and Antigua. But right here, we have this thing looming over us as we're trying to deal with a pandemic and the world is still trying to grapple with, and people getting money and nothing had come from it yet. We need answers to this question. Also, why did we pay in advance? Why did you give a company $7 million and you didn't get the vaccines yet? You know, these are, I think, just a few of the questions that we need answered. And for the people who have died from this, and we know the health services are complete shit, if we're going to be honest, in this country, it just shows a lack of empathy, I think, a lack of respect for St. Lucians. And, you know, if you have a leadership of a country where millions of dollars just being wasted, and it's wasted, right? It is wasted because we are getting yet. I have not seen the value for my money. Now, voy when I call Miss Yoba, gay by a shimea, egna SPA pula money. You think I will let $7 million go? You think we should let our country's money go? And we see it yet? St. Lucia, I know that we're in curfew from today and going into the next 3 weeks, and of course I want us to, you know, abide by the protocols and do everything else that is being asked of us. But I just wanted to put that out there to remind us that there is another issue that we must not forget, and we must not let them get away with it. So if the Prime Minister is watching, Philip J. Pierre, if you're watching, we need answers. We need answers to these questions, and the people that are involved as well. We'll be right back.
I can't stay.
Available at Red Dot in Grosile and Susie's Varieties in Bois de Wange and Vieux-Fort.
Hi, I'm Jim Joseph, President of the Beausejour Community Group. We believe St. Lucia can win the war against the coronavirus, and here's how. Every community in St. Lucia must mobilize, coordinate, monitor and support residents the way we would before, during and after a natural disaster. Identify volunteers in your community, assign them roles and deploy them. Ensure your elderly and vulnerable understand all protocols. Help relatives, shield them from unnecessary contact with others. Identify those recently unemployed and vulnerable neighbors living alone. Put systems in place to filter updates from official sources throughout your community. Promote the hotline number 311. If it takes a village to raise a child, then all of us can come together to defend the village against the coronavirus. Let's do it.
Together let us win this war. St. Lucia be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
Hi there, this is
exclusive hot.
You're watching UTV TV for you.
I can't stay.
Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. And like I said, I think, you know, people have said, you know, it might be difficult to have this show, and, you know, maybe there's nothing else to say, but you would be surprised. There's more still that we have to talk about from the former administration. No, I have no chances given. No. So, when you think it's over, because you think, you know, there's a new administration that it's over, no, it's not. And I know for some people as well, with July 26, what happened there with the elections, there's still a lot of uncertainty. So yes, we're going to take a look at that. And some of the uncertainty, we've lost it. So now things are really beginning to make sense when you try to connect the dots. And of course, Richard Frederick, very, very, very good at doing that, has really cleared the air and really connected the dots on certain issues, certain things that we've seen, certain things that people felt like, you know, there was a tingle, there was a suspicion. if you had suspicions of what was going on that day, if you felt that you could not trust the former administration for playing this fair, for doing this, you know, in the right way, you were absolutely correct.
Now, folks, all police officers are civil servants. We have people employed at the electoral department. The police have hundreds of vehicles. The police have access to hundreds more vehicles, all of them government owned. The police have thousands of guns. The police can escort any document, any sum of money, any dignitary with the highest degree of security or protection necessary. Why am I asking this? I am asking this, or saying this rather, because I cannot fathom, I cannot understand, I cannot appreciate, and will never understand nor appreciate why does this country, a country with hundreds of vehicles assigned to the government or to the police, a country with over 1,000 police officers, or almost, a country with thousands of guns, would have to pay a single person, one single person, to transport ballot boxes and secure them on election day. I want someone to tell me why. And you see, that is the thing. The guys realized that they're losing the elections, so that they were doing anything to milk the bull. And you know, folks, for election night, they did not pay 10,000 or 20,000 or 30,000 or 40,000 or even 50,000 to that private individual, you know. They paid a sum of $86,500 to transport and secure ballot boxes on election night. Yes, you heard right. You heard right. $86,500 to one individual to transport and secure ballot boxes on election night. Where are our police officers? Where are our guns? Where is our ammunition? Where are our hundreds of vehicles? Folks, let me put that in perspective for you. Those huge dump trucks, those that carry 20 yards of material, those trucks work roughly for about, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, $2,000 a day. You would need 43 of those huge trucks to justify a bill of $86,000. 43. But some people felt it necessary to sideline our police, to sideline our guns, to sideline our vehicles, and to award a contract to a private individual who registered a business, and I'll show you. Registered a business, the business commenced operation on the 1st of March this year. So the business was less than 4 months into operation, and charged the government and people of St. Lucia $86,500 for one night to transport and secure ballot boxes. Could you put up this SmartStream invoice for me? Please, Mr. Technician. No, not this one, the SmartStream invoice. D for services and supplies. Invoice Electoral departments entered on Smart Stream. Yes. Transportation, I'm reading mid-screen. Oh, take it to the top. Take it to the top. Transportation. No. Right. The top left of your screen. Transportation of ballot boxes from various polling stations to returning officers' location and to secure location on election night. On election night. Transport, Grosile, 7,600. Babuno, 6,000. Thousands and thousands and thousands. And show the total for me, please. Show the total for me, please. $86,500. $86,500, folks. $86,500 to transport and secure ballot boxes on election nights. You see, God knew exactly what he wanted to do, and God did what he wanted. Now, we saw it was D4 services supply. Put it back up. Let's just show the invoice. I didn't say on the top. On the top. So, yes. The invoice is from D4, top right, top left of the screen, D4 services and supplies. So when I saw this, folks, when I saw that invoice from D4 services and supplies that had already been entered on the Smart Stream for payment by the Treasury, I decided to be a little more inquisitive and to investigate who D4 services and supplies were that made $86,500 in one night. I wanted to find out, so I decided to investigate. Lo and behold, the business name was registered in late January of this year, started a commencement date of starting business 1st of March this year. And you know what? Let me show you the registration of D4 services and supplies that made $86,000 on election night. Could you put it up for me, please? Registration of business name. The business name, D4 services and supplies. Could you scroll down, please? The principal place of business, Kaimaje. The present name or surname of the individual. Are you all seeing it there, folks? I did not make the document. I'm showing it to you. And thank God he has placed a hand in the affairs of this country. Odile Emil Branford. Odile Emil Branford. The question is, who is Odile Emil Branford of Kaimaji? You'll see the commencement date, 1st of March 2021. Who is Odile Emil Branford of Kaimaji? Who is she? You can take it down. Is this lady the wife of the current accountant general who was placed in the treasury by Guy Joseph? I don't know. Is she the wife of the current accountant general who was placed there by Guy Joseph?
I can hear these things a million times and I will just never understand the way some people think, the way their minds will think. And that's why, say, Flabwa, is company who's a vola election still paid. Are you still in an election? You still lose. So you use all what you can, use the power, use everything else, and try to get businesses to transport boxes. When you have public servants, you're supposed to have people who are neutral. Just decide on your own to get some private company to be in charge of a democratic process. That is what the FLUBO, that is what the United Workers' Party tried to do. That is what they've done. That is what they've done. And in the name, Egmia Vie Notui, Odile Emile Branford, and the wife to the Accountant General. Let's put his picture up, and we're going to keep his picture up for a while as we talk about this. This is the country's Accountant General, who was installed by Guy Joseph, because I guess the Accountant General from before, you know, she wasn't doing what they wanted her to do. She wasn't, well, what she was doing was blocking payments, because there's a certain way of doing things where you have to pay the small contractors first before you pay the big ones. Small contractors get as little as $1,000 sometimes, so they have to be paid first, and then you make space, and then you can pay the big contracting companies like Fresh Start and all the others. So when the woman, I guess, wasn't abiding by that, wasn't going to abide by what the things Guy Joseph and them were asking her to do, demanding that she do, they take out and put in a Suse, Matthew Branford. So he's there now. And with all of what we've heard, and of course it's disgusting to listen to, it's disgusting to hear what is being done with our funds. But it's also interesting knowing that this man is in the same church with Guy Joseph, who's also in the same church, Timothy Mangal, also the cabinet secretary, all within the same church. And the church itself getting, you know, land at really, really concessionary rates in Forest there, and building their big building and doing what they're doing. So you find them in that kind of environment. Clearly, we've already spoken about what Timothy Mangal is. No, Pamela, because we need to know who we're dealing with. And we talk about a lot about Shasta and all the others. And to be Accountant General and to have your wife be in charge of transporting ballot boxes, transporting something like that. And even now as we speak, with that being said there last night, this man, Matthew Branford, is now removing all of the attachments. So now he wants to get paid. There's still money to get for his services, for his wife's services. So they're trying to remove attachments, meaning that instead of the breakdown, they don't want you to see the breakdown like what they're being paid for. So, you know, remove the transportation services. Maybe they build something here or there. Just try to remove that and get paid quickly. This is happening today. The Accountant General has the power to do it. He's trying to do it, and he's trying to get paid as quick as possible without people knowing what he's being paid for. This is disgusting. People being placed in positions where they have to protect our institutions, protect our country, and instead they're just taking more and more. And you guys should be ashamed of yourselves. Like now where I could yo tut bobble tut teba la cafe yo ek from you under too eh. They and their woman in it too. You can come off for me now. But hold on a side because we're coming back to him. Just hold it there when I call for it. You'll put it out. I think this is disgusting. I really do think it is. And it also says, I don't know, maybe all of that has happened. And if somebody has said it, you know, now you're trying to rush it through, still try to take money from people. When will enough be enough? When will enough be enough? I think with all of that being said, and it makes you think too, maybe the St. Lucia Labour Party might have won by more. You don't know whether some of the boxes were actually taken. You don't know nothing. You don't know what is really going on. And this Accountant General, I speak in now to Philip J. Pierre. We speak about justice and we've spoken about accountability. I want to stop hearing the talk. Mate need to be pulled up. Something has to be done with him. And I want to see something done with him. And all the other people, all the city-wares and all the Suses that were there and let things happen and, you know, created a conducive environment for corruption. We know we should not run away from it. We should not hide it. We continue to look at, you know, that issue. And I think one person, he's a fan favorite, I would say. He calls the show a lot, Andrew Antoine. And he made some really, really valid points on Richard Frederick's show last night.
The issue of the payment of $86,500 to one person.
Can you believe that? For one day, one night.
You know, Richard, but let me just read you so people could understand. Let me just read something from the Elections Act. In terms of proceedings after the poll. Okay, let me read part of a subclause. It says the ballot box shall then be locked and sealed with the seal of the presiding officer, that's after the poll, and conveyed or delivered to the returning officer. The returning officer may specially appoint one or more persons for the purpose of collecting the ballot boxes from a given number of polling stations, and such person or persons shall, on delivering the ballot boxes to the returning officer, take the oath in the form set out as da-da-da-da-da. Now, Richard, the Act says that, but we know by convention, at every election, police officers are the ones who are appointed to carry out such a duty or such a task.
Very well.
And the state doesn't have to pay them.
Exactly.
Because they're in a perfect position to provide the kind of security needed for those ballot boxes.
Exactly. They have transport, they have guns, they have everything, and they are civil servants.
Exactly. So I really don't understand which returning officer or returning officers appointed that one person to convey the ballot boxes for all of those constituencies to them, so they could then take it to wherever. So look, Richard, the presiding officers, we must know whether or not those presiding officers actually appointed that one person to do that, and on what basis the presiding officers determined that that one person had the necessary wherewithal, including the ability to provide the kind of security
very
to
good.
Convey those boxes.
Very.
And again, some really pertinent points being raised there by Andrew Antoine. And I don't know, you know, I'm doing this show and just, you know, everything that's going on, but even in a way that I'm so angry. I'm angry enough, I don't know, angry to cry, angry, you know, you're angry and you just so vexed you want to cry. When you think of what's going on there and the people who are complicit in all of this, that now they can travel, they can, you know, so for some of them, they see it as some kind of relief, like, don't mind them, you say you said they can just go where they feel like, build a house, use the land that that they got for, you know, no money, and just start to live life. For some of them, it was a relief. But people should never be able to leave this country and, you know, they lost and they leave the country, have a good time, while they have committed crimes against the state. And you're sitting there as an accountant general and you're trying to make sure your wife get her money for her D4 services in her company today, trying to remove the attachment so people don't see what you're getting paid for. You think it is right to have a private company transport ballot boxes on election day? Kilescu. And how could the electoral department agree to that either? And there are so many different stories that we've seen too. Miku South is one of them. And, you know, Gideon, I remember having spoken to him and he said that, you know, there was a lot of uncertainty there as well. This is, you know, from the highest possible level, where government is paying for transportation services, and then you get people taking ballot boxes on their own and doing whatever they feel they need to do to try to secure a win.
Investigations are being carried out into allegations of fraud in the Micoud South constituency during Monday's general election. According to reports surfacing on Monday night, an elections worker attempted to make off with one ballot box. But what really happened? SLP's Gibeon Ferdinand, who on initial count lost the seat by 653 votes, explained.
I received a call from an agent shortly after the polls closed that there were some issues. A little bit later, I got another call that the police had stopped one of the presiding officers from exiting the compound of the Dairies to Combined School, which is the polling division, with an unsealed ballot box in his vehicle. I proceeded to the school where I asked the police officers at the gate about the situation, and they did confirm that that was the case, and they had asked the returning officer to return the box into the polling station.
Contrary to some reports made on Monday, no arrest was made by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Ferdinand did confirm that there was quite a bit of commotion caused by supporters of the SLP who were concerned about the allegations.
It is a ballot polling station that I traditionally have done very well in. So that raised a lot of suspicion. In fact, unofficial numbers indicate that I am well ahead in that polling station. But I will not give the details of the figures. It's a sensitive matter. But it's clear the police confirmed with me, in the presence of an attorney, that the gentleman attempted to leave the polling division with the ballot box that was not sealed alone.
Given the incidents that took place on Monday, a recount took place in Deriso earlier today.
The returning officer was, of course, who was not in any way close to the incident, received the ballot box, and he would have, for his own purposes, to ensure that whatever he received is what he was supposed to receive. So that recount is being done to satisfy myself and the returning officer, as well as the agent of the opposing candidate, that what the returning officer received is what he ought to have received. But it does not explain, or it does not confirm anything that transpired before the box had gotten to the returning officer, because we don't know what transpired while the box was in the presence of the presiding officer, whether it was tampered with or whatever happened. That we have to investigate separately.
So what happens now? The Electoral Department has verified the votes from Micoud South and has announced Alan Chasney as the winner of that seat. Ferdinand says there are still some options open.
After this exercise today with the returning officer, we will decide what to do. But based on what I have understood from the actions, the alleged actions of the presiding officer, these actions contravene the elections regulation. So once that is so, I think that will be grounds for some kind of action.
St. Lucians await the outcome of investigations into this incident to guide the way forward. The Micoud South seat is one of the two seats retained by the United Workers' Party, the other being Choiseul Saltibus. For Choice News Now, Nelsia Charlemagne reporting.
I don't have much to say on this. I think it's really out there, and I want to hear from you. Call me, 572-7588. We can open the lines now at 572-7588 and also at 484-7588. I really want to hear from you. We could speak about anything you want or anything that I've spoken about so far in the show. But as we await your calls, I am getting messages, and this one here is from an electoral presiding officer who says the system is corrupt. A man received $7,500 for transporting ballot boxes on election night. $50 fuel will do that in any one constituency. Pay a driver $100 for most of the night. Let's say $500 for the most, but he is paid $7,500. A presiding officer, the person says, such as myself, was employed on that day from the hours of 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. to manage a polling station, to manage 4 agents, one poll clerk, one assistant poll clerk and have sanitizers, people to do the sanitizing, has to provide instructions to some 400 plus voters on that day. You also have to count and recount and do all of that, every single ballot, to ensure that everyone present at the close of the poll is duly satisfied, ensure that accounts are balanced, ensure that ballot boxes are safe, safely delivered to the hands of the returning officer, and he gets $800 for the day. Isn't that a disgrace? And then somebody gets $7,500 for 2 hours of work. And it just goes to show that with this former administration believing that money can buy everyone, and for some people showing them that money can buy them. And when you get so greedy, how can you be in charge of state finances, accountant general, giving people money owed to them and everything, and you need to take for yourself, for your woman first? Ou vle pou ko dia mem, ipo mem yone, ou la ka try getting money for your woman to get. Lord, we need proper systems. I need something to be done with y'all. I need something to be done with y'all, that y'all cannot do these things so blatant like y'all care. Something has to be done, and I mean that. When means for Philip J. Pierre to let us see these people be pulled up and investigated, and something come out of that. That you cannot take people's money. You cannot infringe on people's rights. So all of what you do there, I stand up in the rain, you know, how many people took their time, sacrificed their time, stand up on a long line trying to have their votes, and people saying you can come and give it to a private company and just come and do what you want. Vole. Example is just still paid. Let's take the call. Good morning.
Good morning, Tresha. How
Good
are
morning.
you?
I don't know. I'm okay. Yeah, and I thought I wouldn't be. I thought this would have been over.
But let me tell you, Tresha, my concern is not even for the amount of money. My concern is for the breach of national security. Because to me, this shows that our electoral system is still vulnerable to fraud. Because to have one company transport every single ballot box, who knows if there could have been a shifting of ballot boxes or other things happening during that time. So that for me is more fundamental than even the money that was paid. The other issue that I think that my concern is that knowing the connection between the chief cashier for the government of St. Lucia and the owner of that company, there must be a stop to that payment. This is a major conflict of interest. Now, also, I don't think it's presiding officers or anything like that. I don't agree that has anything to do with presiding officers. Because presiding officers do not hire people. They do not have the authority to hire people from what I know the electoral system to be. This person had to have been hired by the electoral department. And the electoral department I find so strange that within a week, because I noticed the date of the payment shows the 5th of August, within 1 week of elections, that payment was already being processed. It was already entered on Smart Stream. That suggests that there is a lot of collusion in that system, and I believe that it warrants very quick investigation, because this is clear. Now, I was speaking to somebody yesterday who spoke about they should transfer the individual. This is not a case for transfer.
Agreed.
This is a case for disciplinary action, and it may result in dismissal of that individual. We have to be more serious about our national security and our taxpayers' money. I recall Mr. Uvaldis Raymond saying that there was a culture within the last administration, and you're seeing that civil servants take advantage of that culture just by this incident that we're seeing there now.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that we are remain focused in dealing with these matters, in this matter, and also the one in Deriso, that this is seriously investigated and the appropriate action be taken. And what also it highlighted to me, and I said it publicly, Guy Joseph kept saying that civil assisted him. I will paraphrase him, but he kept saying, if he is corrupt, then it's the civil servants who are corrupt. And this is blatantly connected with what Guy Joseph said. If he is corrupt, then you don't point it on him, but the person who actually carried out the act. He may have carried out the act on Guy Joseph's behalf, but Guy Joseph is saying, you're not seeing my signature nowhere. But happening there now. Civil servants have aided and abetted him in the nonsense that he did to us, not only for this 5 years, years before. But he cannot say that I did it, because that's one of the reasons he wanted me out, because I stood up to him and ensured that my signature was never attached to any of his corrupt. To look deeper into this, and wherever the act falls, let it be. Thank you.
Very well said, caller. Thank you. That was Mrs. Alison Jha. She is a career public servant and has been the permanent secretary, I think, in Ministry of Infrastructure for a very, very long time. So when you speak of that and your own personal experience, thank you very much for letting us know. Let's take the other call. Good afternoon, caller, and once again, thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Tresha Lionel, how are you? Okay?
I'm okay. I'm all right. How are you?
Tresha, I did not too bad holding on. Tresha, I'm sorry to tell you that I should not say it. Let me tell you, I listening to your show there. I watching it on large television. And I can say to you, logis sortienzim. If all what I heard there, and plus I knew what I knew, logis sortienzim. Now, I'm saying something there now. Mr. Pierre, if you are listening to me, please, I understand governance. I'm not some St. Lucians who don't understand governance. They don't understand when a government is making progress for them and they kicking them out. I'm one of those who understand governance because I've taught governance. Mr. Pierre, or whoever listening, send a message to Mr. Pierre for me, please. I find the Constitution gave you 1 month before for you to open Parliament. I believe you should open Parliament at the soonest possible time, one. And we've been opening up Parliament, if it's a mini budget or whatever you're going to do, there's certain statements you don't have no choice but to come and make it. For example, the vaccine situation.
So there will be Parliament. There'll be a Parliament session on Tuesday.
Okay, better yet, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
But there are certain statements that have to be made. He can jump high, he can jump low. You don't have no choice, including the Ministry of Education. Find out from Mr. Edward. Ask Mr. Edward to investigate. Find out if the school HTTI was accredited. See, there are certain things that could be done immediately. There are certain documents that will prove to you it happened, so you don't have no choice. There are things you have to investigate, there are things you cannot, you have to take time to investigate. But there are certain things you can do it promptly.
Caller,
and I know what I'm saying to you.
I know you do, and I think you know, if the Prime Minister isn't watching, then somebody who's close to him will say to him what your suggestions are. I want to thank you very much. I think I have another call on hold, and I want to give everybody a chance to call. Thank you very much, caller.
No problem,
All
Trisha.
right. Take
Have
care.
a nice day.
All right. Thank you very much, and you too. Let's take the other one. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Trisha. Good afternoon, Sanusha.
Good afternoon, sir.
Last time I spoke on your program, I warned some that the investigation must have due process. I have been in town too long. I know of public officers who have admitted to misfeasance and misappropriation. And when the matter went to Trisha, the case was dismissed. So in court is not who is guilty, you know. It's the process of how you do it. Right? I could write a book on this. I'm very happy and relieved today to hear the former accounting officer of the Ministry of Infrastructure state that she stood up to the minister. Because in my books, the only defense an accounting officer has is to put it in writing. That is what Section 6 or Section 8 of the Finance Administration Act says. You have to put it in. I do remember, and Senations will remember, that the minister used to massively paint Parliament, take me to court, bring me to court. Right? He was right. Just as Sir Compton was right when he said to the Sibling Cooper Commission, he does not know the public the staff orders. Because the staff order is for the public service, for the civil servants, the public officers, not for ministers. The Finance Act speaks to accounting officers, accountable officers. So there we could find them guilty. Happened there in the Treasury, Trisha. What I think should happen is you send proper investigation. The Minister of Finance, and only the Minister of Finance can do that, not the Prime Minister, can ask the Director of Audit to look into it. You see, under the Audit Act, the Minister of Finance can ask. And if he or she can afford it, we'll do it. Only the Minister of Finance. We must have due process. So the Minister of Finance can ask the Director of Audit to look into it. Right? I'm hearing those things happening. If the Director of Audit suspects, I'm not saying fines, you know, suspects there's misappropriation, misfeasance, right? He or she has to send a report to the Director of Finance and the DPP. Again, we come to the DPP. We will now cause the special unit or the police force to carry out investigation and prefer charges against the guilty parties. And hopefully, we'll have charges under sections 403 to 425 the Criminal Code of St. Lucia, in St. Lucia, once and for all, to set examples. Right? For too long, persons have been doing those things. And for me, Trisha, we need to, that mindset we have from since Bill Cooper made his observation, the steady indifference to corruption, we need to stop that. Arrest it, and let's change the mindset. And I'm saying that, I keep saying that all the time, you know. It's not politicians alone that are not accountable, you know. People in nickel department, in nickel clubs, they receive money and they don't account for it. That is accountability. Present accounts to the members. That is lack of transparency. We need to have accountability, transparency, and good governance in public affairs, including civic organizations and religious organizations. Because some of our priests and pastors do not account. Right? Do not report to the members.
Thank you very much.
Right,
I think I have another call that's been on hold. I appreciate your explanation of everything. Thank you for giving us some clarity. That was Ms. St. Hill there, it sounded like. Let's get the call. We have one?
Good day.
Hi, good afternoon, caller. I'm sorry for I have to keep saying it. Thank you for your patience.
I know.
I know you've been on hold for a while.
You're working at Ojo Labs or Flow? Which one?
Yeah, I just have calls on hold. Talk to me.
Yeah. I think this is the journey we're going through with a new administration. And I think we as St. Lucians need to be able to have the backbone to stand up to the civil servants, the senior ones, who witnessed the crimes and said nothing or participated in it. And this leads me to the current CMO. And I think it's sad to say that she does have to go because she has lost the trust of the St. Lucian public. I don't think people are going to go into the next phase of taking vaccinations or trusting in the public health service if she is the face of this messaging. And I say this because let us not forget, this was the CMO who built fences into the water for nationals and then gave a virtual safe bubble to tourists. This is the CMO that witnessed teenagers in ancillary being escorted by gunpoint for a river lime and said nothing, only later for tourists to get gift bags. This is the CMO that witnessed the unleashing of wardens on St. Lucians. Meanwhile, tourists were allowed to go roaming St. Lucia like nothing. This is the CMO when the UK variant that emanated out of Royalton was the source of the spike that we had back in January, February, was pushing the rhetoric that it was the back door and blaming St. Lucians. Now, today, I'm hearing that potentially we have the Delta variant, whether it's 2 or 3 American. So let's be real. Tourism is what's driving COVID in the country, and we need to accept it and speak out on it. And she did not do that. And that is going to be very real, that this administration needs to take a position, and she cannot be the face of it because it will not take us to the next phase. This is a CMO that signed, witnessed, or procured, or had it happen under her watch. I'm sorry, the purchasing of vaccines that we are yet to see or yet to even know where those things are. So for me, we need to have the backbone, the fortitude to call out what has happened. These same individuals cannot now have a veil of truth and honesty and like nothing has happened under their watch and now try to convince the populace to take vaccines. Thank you, Tresha.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you. And I know, you know, what's happening with COVID must mean a lot to you. That is Mr. Larcher. Mr. Larcher's son, Mr. Larcher, we know, died of COVID. So I understand, and I've seen you do your art and on Facebook dealing with the COVID and the COVID response here. So I appreciate your contribution to the show. Let's take the other. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tresha.
Hi, Mr. Antoine.
Hi. Tresha.
I feel I just have to have your show by yourself, eh?
No, I have too much stuff to do, Tresha. One of which I pointed out to you.
You're writing.
In one of my previous calls, I'm writing a book now, and there are so many other books in the pipeline for me, God willing. But anyway, that's for another show.
Okay.
Tresha, last night when I made my submission to Richard Frederick's show, on Richard Frederick's show, I read a section of the Elections Act pertaining to the transportation or the delivery of ballots to the returning officer. Now, after I had read that portion of the act, I mistakenly mentioned presiding officers. I kept mentioning presiding officers instead of returning officers. So I just wanted to correct that. I should have said returning officers instead of presiding officers. But Tresha, I heard your first caller, Alison, say that she doesn't think that the returning officers were the ones responsible for that, for this $86,500, bill that was presented to the electoral department. She thinks that thing may have come from the electoral department itself. Tresha, we can't be sure of that. Like I read last night, the returning officer may specially appoint one or more persons for the purpose of collecting the ballot boxes from a given number of polling stations. Now, we don't know for a fact, because it is difficult to imagine, Tresha, that all of those 17 returning officers would with one accord appoint that one person to transport those ballot boxes to them. I mean, it is almost beyond belief to imagine that such a thing could happen. But that is why the investigation or investigations must be carried out to determine exactly what happened there. Because, Tresha, look, somebody must have come to some kind of agreement with that person in terms of the transportation of those ballots. Who was it? Who signed the document? Did all 17 returning officers sign that document? Who signed that contract agreement? And that is part of the investigation that has to ensue, so we could get to the bottom of this. Because I mean, this thing is incredible, really incredible, and we must do what we need to do to ensure that such a thing, among a host of other things, doesn't happen in St. Lucia again.
Thank you very much, caller. Was that our last call, or we have any other? Okay, so that's it for us. And even as we're speaking about this, let's show the images where you're seeing one man on election day trying to make off with the ballot box and trying to walk away with that. Do we have that? Can we show the people? Daddy, Kodra, this guy was found, it says 2,500 blank ballots in his vehicle. Kodra works at the National Printery and is Guy Joseph's cousin. Let's look at the next one. It says here, my source tells me further returning officers are calling, saying that they are missing ballots, and that Kodra guy is Guy's cousin. Confirmed 2,000, over 2,000 ballots. The car hadn't left. That's on the day this discussion was going on. Let's take let's take a look at the other picture. Gade, Kashai. Zoniche, Pache Cat. Y'all have a heart. Y'all have a heart. And all I keep saying, and I think that the callers and many of the people commenting, we are of the same mind, that we need to see justice. We need to see justice. And you watching some of these people, you have the Accountant General image still. Can we put it up? You on Belfijai, Chesol, wed. It must be hard for you to see all of the crises that we're going through. The health center, all kinds of things, and education, all money that you steal could have gone in something else that we needed. You talk about elderly, you'll talk about things you'll care about. You, Matthew Branford. I just saw a picture of your woman for me to put it up to Odile Emil Branford, for me to put it up so people can really see you for what y'all are. A man play a special. Yes. Okay, so you can take it down now. So this is where we are at. We're going to keep you updated on what is going on, but we arm ourselves with knowledge. And with that, we know, some of the people that allow themselves to be corrupt. We've heard Alison Gell, which I appreciate, saying that even in the offices, you have to make a decision on whether you don't want your name. You have a decision. You have a decision to make. You can make a choice. Pour pas faire succès, pour pas faire quoi, pour pas faire voler. And for women too. I believe there's no voler. And if, we kept a stance like that, I think it would help the situation, wouldn't it? We've come to the end of the show, guys. We're going into the weekend, and I know we have the curfew and everything else, and we're seeing the surge in COVID cases. So I would like to encourage you guys to, encourage all of us. It'll be difficult because, God, sometimes you just want, the zest. But in all of this, I think we need to remain safe and be cautious as we go along, abide by the protocols and stay home as much as we can to make sure that, you know, we have this over with. And so at least maybe we have Christmas free and Junique or bye. Can we do that? And as I say goodbye, I want you guys to be careful, take care of yourselves, you know, walk with God's blessing, and I will see you hopefully on Monday. Until then, have a great one.
We owe to each other, especially the most vulnerable among us who are likely to die if they become infected. And to those still hesitant about taking the vaccine, I call on you to reconsider your position, seek medical advice, and help protect our nation from this deadly virus by taking the vaccine. Together, we can do this. Let us do it for the good benefit of ourselves and our country. I want to thank the people of St. Lucia for their patience and fortitude over the past months as we fight that COVID pandemic. I know it was not and is not easy, but as a nation, I believe that the majority understand that we must all share in the sacrifice of dealing with that pandemic. Your government cares and will always put you first in all our decisions. I end with a quotation from Maya Angelou. Courage is the most important of all virtues, because without courage, you cannot practice any other virtue consistently. You can practice any virtue erratically, but nothing consistently without courage.
I can't stay.